Adam. This is a new male contraceptive injection. So how does that work?
Great name, isn't it? Yes. So what it is it's a gel you inject into the vas deferens, it's called, where the sperm go through a tube. You know, it plugs up the tube, stops the sperm getting through. 98% effective in these trials. So it's a simple way to stop the sperm, I guess. A bit like a vasectomy, except you're using a gel to plug up the tube. And that's seen as a big advance, you know, in contraception.
And this is reversible, unlike the one we heard recently that's hormonal and actually stops it because it's used with a protein. This is, well, that's not...
You've got it, it's non-hormonal. And it's, maybe people will use it. The big question is, will men use it and will women trust them? That's always the question that's asked about male contraception.
How long would it last?
Allegedly 3 to 6 months, a single injection. You know, they've done out to 30 days and it's given this 98% number. Maybe every so often you just replenish it, is the idea.
And very little side effects or something
No side
like
effects at all, because it's a gel that just goes in at the moment. Anyway, it seems like much safer than other approaches, you know.
You'd wonder how effective it would be. Like, I for one, wouldn't be chancing.
Well, it's the question. Is exactly it, Although it's getting... The male contraception is a growth area. More men are happy to take different approaches, you know. And they might be in a relationship and they do some of the heavy lifting, is the idea. Instead of the woman having to take the contraceptive, why wouldn't a man? And all these new developments are happening, so it's interesting. Yeah,
it is interesting, I suppose. And I suppose this is the way forward, equality of the sexes and all that when it comes to that. So maybe we don't have to be pumped full of hormones anymore to stop these things going on now. We mentioned it is the vas deferens that the injection is into. And a lot of fellas, I know, if you talk about the snip or you talk about anything else, they usually cross their legs and start sweating. But it would be just a normal-sized
little needle that goes in and you inject it in and off you go. Is the idea. So it's much simpler than the snip. And it's reversible, Elaine. In other words, you can let it dissolve away. And then if you want to have a child, I suppose, then off you go, kind of thing.
Your main area, of course, is immunology, and one, I know we briefly touched on this before we came on air, the mRNA vaccines have been a revelation, as we saw, of course, during COVID. But the Trump administration, in its wisdom, with their lovely health secretary, has started to do huge damage to the research and funding in mRNA vaccines. Can the main concern for you, which of course is that this is probably was going to be the next line in revolutionary treatment for things like cancers, as well as all the viruses, etc. So what are they doing now and why is it so terrifying?
It's disappointing, now, to be honest. They've cancelled $500 million worth of investment into these vaccines now. And that's a real shock to the system because they work, you know, and they protect people. Now, of course, in the pandemic, we had these RNA vaccines. They saved 20 million lives, is what the data tells us. Now, there's obviously people saying, oh, they didn't work or they weren't effective. And RFK Jr. himself has said this, and that's not true. There's no evidence to say that. There will be side effects, of course. Every medicine has a side effect. But they were shown to be safe and highly effective. Now, they're cancelling research. And it's a terrible thing because this is a great weapon to use against viruses, against bacteria, and as we'll come on to cancer. And one example I just saw this morning is HIV. There's an RNA vaccine that might work against AIDS. And lo and behold, they've cut the funding. So it seems like the most ridiculous thing. He's saying let's go back to traditional vaccines, but they take a lot longer to develop and have all kinds of issues. It's like as if you've invented a new weapon and you're not going to use it. That's the way we see it. So it's very disappointing.
But Kennedy himself has hit out against traditional vaccines as well, saying there's mercury and MMR vaccines, etc., which is it's ridiculous. So it seems any vaccine that he seems to be anti at this point.
He was asked that. I remember Congress quizzed him and he said he wasn't against vaccines. But the trouble is, everything he's done since he's got that job is to threaten vaccination as a thing. So he's gone against what he said earlier. And in America, friends of mine who are doctors, they're absolutely consternation. Because it seems like the dark ages again. One expert said we're going back to the 1940s now with vaccines. All that progress is being kind of ignored, so it's very disturbing, really.
And this cut to funding, what impact could this have on the future of vaccine development, Luke?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the thing is, we need more research to make them better. I mean, this is the strange thing. They're not ideal. The COVID vaccine didn't stop you getting infected, remember. All it did was stop you getting really sick. What if we make it even better? What if we make a vaccine from RNA that does stop you getting infected? And this research now is being stopped. So in other words, we're going to slow down. Now, the good news is, anyway, Europe is still funding it. So the Europeans, as ever, will step up now. And maybe it's an opportunity for Europe now to compete against America. So we'll still see lots of research into RNA vaccines. Anyway, it's a shame America's not part of it. That's the way we see it.
And another area of research I know you're very passionate about is cancer research. And of course, there's a new exhibition with breakthrough cancer research that was launched last night, opened last night, and it gives a huge insight into what is happening in the area, which is very, very exciting. And I suppose a hopeful story.
Absolutely. I've got the T-shirt.
You do. Been there, done that, bought the T-shirt.
I'm very
like
sporty.
It.
He said not being sporty at all. No, this is a fantastic thing, Elaine. So it's a brand new exhibition in the Stephen's Green Shopping Centre, all about cancer, organised by Breakthrough Cancer Research. And it's on 2 floors. Remember Argos, where Argos was?
Yeah.
That's where it is. I was in there. Superb exhibition, all about cancer, everything you need to know. Don't be scared of cancer was one message. Lots of patient involvement. Fantastic exhibits. I've never seen the like of it. And I went round it yesterday, and it's a beautiful exhibition all about everything you need to know. And very importantly, where the research is going and where the next steps are in cancer.
And it also highlights key Irish contributions to cancer science. So how have Irish researchers kind of helped advance cancer research on a global scale, Luke?
Yeah, I'm very jealous. There's a section with photographs of cancer biologists, and I'm not there, I'm only kidding. Some of my friends are depicted wonderfully well. Irish scientists and doctors have made a massive contribution to cancer research over the years. One example is radiotherapy, use radiation. That was first started in Dublin. A guy called Jolie, decades ago, was a pioneer in that area. And now we see loads of examples of Irish doctors who've made contributions, breast cancer being a big one, esophageal is another one. You'll see examples in there of how Irish doctors and scientists have made discoveries that directly now are benefiting patients. It's a good showcase for the Irish effort as well.
Indeed, we see it with breast cancer and the Royal College of Surgeons, fantastic lab there through Breast Cancer Ireland. And so much that we do here to, I suppose, break down the fear, which is huge. There's certain cancers that I know when my own mother passed away from lung cancer, the outcomes for a lot of that is quite poor. Pancreatic cancer is terrifying for a lot of people because it's one of the most insidious, because you can't find it early, and once you get it, it's very, very aggressive. Liver cancer, etc. But there is some hope on the horizon for some treatments in relation to this, and we've seen that.
We've done it very well overall. Remember, like 50 years ago, 1 in 2 survived 5 years. Now it's 2 in 3 are surviving 5 years. And the goal really is at the moment, and it's not to cure it. Cure is too strong a word. Live 5, 10, 15, 20 years with the cancer, and that's what's happening, which is tremendous. Now there's some that are very hard to treat. Pancreatic being a good example. We need more research, and of course research is all about this really, in a sense, and this exhibition describes some of the research that's going on. Of course we need funding. This charity supports lots of research, which is great. We need the government, the usual things, to step up and help us with more money, because we have it on the run at this stage. If we keep going and we invest in it, we'll see even more progress.
Yeah, because I'd like to be. We need to see it as something that could be a chronic illness, like living it with like diabetes or something like that. You take your pill, you take your injection, and your life can go on as normal. And that's where all the research is happening through breakthrough cancer research as well. Because we have to, I suppose, see that there is hope out there. Unfortunately, for a lot of people, like in my life, an awful lot of people I know had the more aggressive cancers and didn't go through. But there is hope, there is research, and when you see that the research is ongoing and you have a cause and effect, you have this treatment wasn't here last year, it's here now, and this person is going to live an extra 5-10 years because of it. And you've seen that happen as well.
The immune part is tremendous. That's where the most progress has been. It's called immunotherapy. You're getting the immune system to go in and beat up the tumour.
And how does that work?
You activate the immune system. The immunologists have discovered on and off switches in the immune system. And cancer is very cunning, Elaine. It turns off the immune system so it doesn't get attacked. If you stop the off switch, strangely, now the immune system is mobilised, goes into the tumour and kills it. And we're seeing big progress in breast, in lung now with immunotherapy, melanoma, another big one. That's where the progress has been, really.
Prevalence of melanoma here in Ireland as well.
Absolutely,
but the immunotherapy is fascinating as well, in that with more traditional methods of fighting cancer, radiotherapy, it's a blast of radiotherapy, unless you have more advanced lasers with chemotherapy. It's a very blunt instrument, but it can target nearly in a molecular level, which is fascinating.
We look back on this era and go, you were giving people poisons effectively. We're going, how could that now? Like, poisons work, of course, to some chemo works for some people. This is real precision science. It's science at its best, in my opinion. We've discovered the key switches to flip here to kill a tumour, and that's what's happening, and we're seeing massive progress. And all this research is revealing more and more approaches. And Elaine, it's not that combining it now, remember. You can combine it with chemo or radiotherapy, and then you get a double whammy, And then the effect is even stronger. So all this is going on. And in Ireland, Irish doctors and scientists are all part of this. They're engaged in it.
Which you can see at this exhibition, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's free, very importantly. And especially we'd love to bring in school kids, to be honest. It's aimed at anybody. And we love school kids. One of my dreams is a kid who's 9 years of age is inspired to go and become a scientist and join the adventure and make a contribution to this. That's one of the goals of it as well.
The next big discovery when it comes to treating it. Luke, thank you so much for joining us on the show this morning.
Thanks a million,
and of course, that exhibition is in Stephen's Green Shopping Centre at the moment. But for now, we'll check on your latest news headlines.